Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Gary Holt from Exodus and formerly from Slayer, and you're listening to The Razor's Edge.
You're listening to The Razor's Edge. My name's Matt, and I am speaking to Mr. Dave Kirk today. How are you doing?
I'm not too bad, man. How are you?
I'm very well. Now, in my books, you're someone who needs no introduction, but for our listeners who might not know what you do and the things that you get up to, could you introduce yourself to The Razor's Edge for us, Dave?
Of course. My name's Dave Kirk. I'm singer and frontman for OK You Win, and I also run a collective and music promoter called Civil War down in London, putting on DIY heavy shows.
Now, the big thing at the moment with Civil War is you've got an all-day event at, was it the Black Heart?
It's at the Black Heart. It's our first
That's
time
right.
At the Black Heart, and it's a full all-dayer called Homegrown on the 21st of September, and we're super looking forward to it.
This must be one of the biggest events that you've put on in Civil War history then.
It is. We've run some other all-dayers at the Hope and Anchor, which is our sort of spiritual home, but this is the big one. It's for our 20th show, so wow. We wanted to do something special, and it's like a double bill all-dayer. Usually we have 4 bands on. This is a whole 8-band show, and we've picked all of our favourite heavy bands from the scene down in London and a few from further afield, so should be a real heavy show, real heavy hitting one.
Feels like you're really spoilt for choice in London. You know, it's such a big city and there's so many bands coming out of it. I imagine it must have been hard to narrow it down to just one day, one lineup, you know.
It was. You try and think, who have we had before? Who have been our good headliners of the past? Who's really exciting? Who do we want to put on, make a real impact? So we've picked, as I say, 8 of our favourite bands. Many of them are our mates, of course, and that's how we like to run it. Keep it quite tight as a community, but genuinely exciting, and really looking forward to see how it goes down.
Oh, of course. No, it'll be interesting to see sort of Civil War in Camden as well. I'm just having a quick look at the lineup. I mean, Trevor's Head. They are the headliners, aren't they?
They're the headliners.
That's right. They are. Also got bands like Jukebox Monkey. OK You Win yourselves also on the bill. The Lunar Effect. So it's it's really strong. Really, really strong. How have you found promoting in a world sort of post-COVID? Because I know that Civil War started sort of a little bit earlier than the pandemic, but I imagine the scene has changed a little bit sort of in the last 3 years since live music's come back.
Yeah, it did. It was a weird time for us and everyone. I mean, I'd had the idea, and I think we'd run 4 or 5 shows before COVID, and then there was a big, giant gap. In a way, it kind of helped because people were looking for things more online, and we sort of helped build the community up while it was all locked down. But then when it opened up, started hitting the shows again, trying to do one every sort of 2-3 months. And we're now up to 20 shows. And it has changed a bit, I guess. You know, we lost some venues down in London. I know it happened elsewhere around the UK as well, sadly. But the spirit is still there. People are looking for, real bands and real sort of memorable nights, live in person. And, I don't think that's ever gone away. So hopefully it will continue to grow back to where it was before, hopefully.
Of course. Where does the name Civil War come from?
Well, I guess it really came from a fuzz pedal, the classic, big muff pedal, the Civil War. It's one of the early Russian types. I just bought one, which I'm very pleased with. Sounds fantastic. So dirty. And it had a ring to it. I like the the sound of it, and I like the play on words. It sounds edgy, but it's also like civil. It's friendly. It's approachable, but it's also angry, and it's interesting and rebellious. All these other things, counterculture type stuff. So that was all behind it, it's come together really nicely. It was just something that started as an idea, and then one thing leads to another. You come up with the name, you make a website, and then you got to fill the website, and then you want to run a gig. Goes well, so you end up running more gigs, and here we are, 20 gigs. Just completely psyched for this next show.
Oh, absolutely. It's a hell of a milestone. Well, as you said earlier, you're also the frontman of OK You Win, a kind of stoner grunge kind of band from London, of course. What's happening in the band at the moment?
Well, we're focused on doing our work as a band, ready for this show on the 21st as well. When we're not promoting, we're trying to write new material and get super tight and prepared for this big show at the Black Heart. We're in the background also sort of writing new material and perfecting material ready to record. We're going to be hitting the studio to record our debut album in November, so we'll make a big announcement about where and when exactly to come. But really looking forward to putting an album out and giving people some new tunes to hear.
Oh, of course. Well, sort of round about the end of last year, we did have a live album. Are you planning to re-record any of those songs with that studio magic, or will it be an entirely new set of material that go on this album?
Excellent question. That's still under discussion in the band. Trying to, you try and whittle down from a higher number of songs down to, what you think is the absolute sort of burning core of the set, or the material at hand. I think some of those will definitely make it on. Probably not all of them. We've got a few new ones that are absolutely massive, and we're really excited to put out. But yeah, I think some of those old friends will definitely be on there and deserve the studio treatment. So can't wait to get in the studio and to lay some of this down. Absolutely.
So I think one thing I liked about the Live from the Pit material was that it started off quite grungy, and then there was that sort of a longer one towards the end of the record that was quite Sabbathy and sort of more kind of what you might consider stoner rock. Are you still a band with those two styles about you, or have you kind of focused down more into one path over the other?
Again, a really good question. These are, they're both very much in the melting pot.
Okay.
We're people who grew up as sort of, we're in our early teens, in the grunge era. We grew up listening to Soundgarden and seeing it on MTV. So that's all very much in there for us. But equally, lots of modern stoner influences sort of coming through. I think, if anything, we're moving more stoner, even sort of verging on doom at times with some of our newest stuff. So, I really hope you'll, I hope people will really dig it when we finally release some of these brand new tracks as well, ones that haven't been put out yet.
Absolutely, that's exciting. What's your take on kind of bands doing it themselves in terms of releasing albums compared to record labels? Because you've mentioned, of course, Civil War is an independent promoter. Are you thinking of taking that ethos into the band and doing it all yourself with the release, or could you go for a record label for this new one?
Oof, very, very good question again, man. You're really you're right on the button with these. I don't know yet. I think we, if we could get onto a tastemaker label that backed the project, or sort of had a passion for the tunes, then I can't see why we wouldn't go for that. I think at our stage of life, we're looking for some support to put things out, spread the word. But equally, there's absolutely no harm in taking things completely DIY, self-releasing, especially this day and age. There's so much you can do online or just do yourself. Really tough question, that. I think, especially in our scene, there are so many excellent, tastemaker labels like Ripple, Heavy Psych Sounds, Magnetic Eye, list goes on. They can do wonderful things and really help you to grow your audience. So I'm not sure yet, man. Not sure yet.
No,
but when we've got some songs down, might put a few feelers out and see what's going on.
Of course, no, that's a fair comment. Well, you're a London band, and the spiritual home of Civil War, as you said, is the Hope and Anchor in Islington, and you've also got the show at the Black Heart. But have you got any other favourite venues around the city that feel quite close to home?
Favourite venues? I mean, some have gone, sadly. There used to be the Unicorn, which was a great heavy venue in Camden. That was. I wonder if that will come back eventually. I'm not sure, but that was definitely a great one. Similarly, the Monarch. It was slightly more at the grungier indie end, but it was a great kind of classic Camden trashy venue. It was just tons of fun. Some of these are struggling. Equally, there's some really exciting smaller venues like Blondie's over in East London. Really good fun, that place. Tiny, but just wild. So that's something that I've been there for shows in the audience, but I'd quite like to play there at some point. There's tons of great venues in London. I just hope that maybe some new ones will spring up too, especially at the sort of smaller grassroots level. I think that would definitely help the bands.
Oh, of course. I've heard about. I've never actually been there, but I've heard Helgies is supposed to be quite a good spot for stoner rockers and that kind of thing.
Oh, mate, great shout! Yeah, been there twice in the last year or two. Really dark, really moody. It's got a great vibe to it, and that was a lot of fun as well. So I know you have your own projects as well. Maybe you could get down and play in there at Helgies before too long too.
Perhaps I'll have to fire off some emails. Speaking of projects, I know that OK You'll Win isn't the first band that you've been in. The name of your previous band isn't at the top of my head right now, but how is your current band different to the old ones, do you find? Or is it just kind of moving forward with different members and the same kind of ethos?
Yeah, well, the last one was called Empty Friend.
That's the one.
Which was sort of named after a Failure track, and we were really big into Failure. They're a fantastic and very influential band that our old drummer was particularly keen on. Big fan. But the lineup changed a bit. That particular drummer left. We got a new drummer. We got a new bassist in. And then it was like, is this the same project anymore? Really, it's getting heavier, and half the band has changed over. So we're like, I think we need to. You could say rebadge, but it was really kind of felt like starting again. Even though me and Ryan were survivors from the old band, and our approach has broadly remained the same, even though we're leaning heavier and heavier over time. But in many ways it is a new band. It certainly feels much fresher.
Brilliant.
But there's the roots are in the old band for sure.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And have you always sung in bands, or have you sort of played instruments over the years as well?
I have always sung. I play a bit of guitar, and have done a few acoustic bits over the years. But when it comes to performing, I've always just focused on singing, really. Ever since I was a child, my parents were both in a band, covers band. Yeah. And even as a kid, I was getting up and doing bits and bobs. So I learned some of the basics of the business pretty early on. Just love it. Always loved it. I think I always will. Many of us in the scene are in for life. one way or another. So just making the most of it, and trying to do everything I can and enjoy every moment, really.
Absolutely. No, it does feel like a calling sometimes, doesn't it? Well, to wrap up, you've got the Civil War all-dayer in about 2.5 weeks at time of having this interview. It might be a little bit closer by the time the listeners are hearing this, but I wish you all the very best for the event, and we'll have to try and give it a little push before it all happens.
I hugely appreciate that. Thanks so much, Matt.
That's all right,
I really
mate.
do appreciate it. Thank you, man.
Well, thanks for your time. It's been good to catch up. It's been a few months since I saw you last, but yeah, this has been fun.
Yeah, man. Really appreciate you having us on, and cool to catch up, and hope to see you before too long as well.
Absolutely. Right. Well, you've been listening to The Razor's Edge. This has been Dave Kirk.
Thanks for listening. Make sure you keep up to date with all of our interviews by subscribing to our channel. For all the latest news, reviews, interviews and more, head over to our website, www.therazorsedge.rocks.